gathering us today. Give us the fortitude to conquer life's challenges so we can excel and be upright in everything that we do. Guide us to be united in diversity, that we may continue to serve and love one another. Amen.
the side, wherever it is. And we will be entertaining them right after the presentation of our speaker. Now, allow me to introduce our first speaker for today. She is an instructor in the communications department in Ateneo de Manila University. Second, she's an author of her own research article. Third, member of the Philippine Communication Society as a researcher and publication committee. And lastly, she is a member of the Philippine Association for Communication and Media Research Incorporated. As an information and linkage committee. Also, she is a former instructor of 𝐕𝐸𝐻𝐸. In fact, she is one of my former teachers during my first 2 years in college. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Jasmine Rombaoa.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. I would like to thank 𝐸𝐸𝐻 for inviting me to this webinar. I'll be sharing my presentation now, so I can start. I just want to see the participants as well. I'll just move this here, and then the chat box over here. So, okay, I think everything is okay on my end. I can now begin. The presentation is titled Attempting to Bridge the Communication Gap in the VUCA World. It's also, hi Sir Judge. No. This is VUCA, as Beata Lee mentioned ago. We usually call it VUCA, and it's a term. No, it's actually an acronym, which I will discuss later on. The presentation will go like this. No, the first part, I will be telling you what VUCA means. If you're in the management sector, I think you would know about this already. But if you don't know it yet, of course, I have to tell you. And then how do we deal with the VUCA world that we're living in? And what are your emerging communication problems, which I have gathered through, well, when I ask you to answer the sensing or pre-seminar form, no? That's how I prepared for this, because I wanted to make this like a tailor-fit presentation for the audience, but only a few were able to answer. Pero yun, I hope that it will still be a tailor-fit presentation. And then lastly, how can we deal again with these problems using the VUCA context? Yun. So first, what does VUCA mean? If you don't know what VUCA means, no. So VUCA is an acronym. It stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Okay, so this term has been coined, I think, around 1990s or 1980s pa. However, during the the 9/11 bombing, it was used again, and then later on it was used again. No, apparently recently it's being used to actually explain how our world is like. No, what is the kind of world, or what it describes the world that we're living in right now. So the first word is volatility. Volatile. What do we mean by volatile? In this acronym, volatile means changing, unstable, or fluctuating. In the original sense, no, VUCA, yung volatility, fluctuating, changing, unstable, this is for the markets, no? Kasi di ba no, nag-9/11, nag-fluctuate yung markets, ganyan. Pero we're going to discuss this in terms of communication, the pandemic, and online classroom setup. So when we say volatile, what are the things that are changing, unstable, and fluctuating in your experience, no, in online learning? Sige nga, use the chat box. What are the volatile experience that you have? You can use a word. Things that are changing, unstable, or fluctuating. Yes, Ma'am Conquilla, internet connection is very much unstable. I also got this from the students. What else? Have you experienced that's changing, unstable, and fluctuating? Other things? Siguro nga yung internet connection na yon. As much as possible, I would like you to engage with me in this webinar. So I'm checking the chat as well. Okay. Schedule is unstable. Yes, it is. Especially time management, internet connection, sleep, motivation is also unstable. All these things are really unstable. We don't know what will happen. Magpapalit-palit sila. Mental health is also unstable. It's fluctuating and magkakakonekta yan kasi pag maraming nangyayari sa stress tayo. Everything about the VUCA world is actually nakaka-stress. Everything about it is nakaka-stress. All of these we're facing right now. Internet connection stresses us out because right now you're in front of Zoom, mamaya mawawala ka kasi biglang unstable si internet or nag-trip yung internet, yung electricity nyo, nawawalan kayo ng internet kasi yung router nyo nakahook sa electricity and magugulo tayo. And then makabalik ka 5 minutes, hindi mo na alam kung anong pinag-usapan, hindi mo na siya maintindihan. That's how instability is like. When it comes to time management, ang daming nag-pile up na work, tapos mamaya meron pang bagong deadline, di natin sure kung bakit biglang nagkaroon ng bagong deadline. And it's something that stresses us out. That's how our world is like, volatile. When it comes to uncertainty, these are things naman that are unclear to us, things that are unclear in the future. In 2020, around March, we thought that mahabang suspension lang ito. Natuwa pa tayo, yay, mga 1 week walang klase. But then, we didn't know, It was unclear na 2 years pala kami walang klase, na hindi kami makikita on campus. Until now, we don't even know when we will be meeting again, di ba? There is no clarity on when the face-to-face classes will be. There's no certainty on what will happen next. We don't even know if, say for example, right now, we can pay for our tuition fee. Bukas ba, can we still pay for our tuition fee? May trabaho pa ba ang parents ko? May trabaho pa ba ako? These are things that we are thinking of right now, di ba? In the classroom setup, we also have uncertainties, things that are not clear to us. One of the things that are not clear to us is perhaps for the teacher to the student, nakikinig ba sila? Currently, teachers would ask questions and then pause for 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, kahit walang sagot dun sa chat box, walang interaction, we feel as if we're like Dora the Explorer, talking to the air. We are uncertain if we are really engaging with the students. Another uncertainty from teacher to student would be if they are the ones who are really answering the tasks, di ba? Parang sino ba sumasagot nito? Siya ba talaga ang sumasagot nito? Or sino ba nagsulat ng report na to? I'm not sure. These are uncertainties, and how will we be able to really assess students' performance if we are not sure who are the ones who are working on these tasks? For students, there are a lot of uncertainties as well. If I will email my professor, will I be replied to? Oo, may time ba si ma'am o si sir na sagutin itong tanong ko? That's uncertain. If you're a student, you submitted something, malilate ako ng submit kasi nahihirapan na ako sa sitwasyon ko sa bahay. Maiintindihan kaya ako ni prof? Diba? These are things that are uncertain to us. Now, complexity. Everything has a lot of variables right now. Before, ang dahilan lang para mag-absent ang student, nagkasakit siya, ganyan. or walang klase kasi may bagyo. Pero ngayon, complex na siya. Masususpend ang klase hindi lang dahil sa bagyo, no? Nasususpend ang klase kasi walang internet, ganyan, or maraming pangyayari sa buhay natin, ganun. Currently, in the university where I'm teaching, if a member at your household is sick, it's okay for you to be absent na. Kasi maraming variables for you not to be able to work. And it's not only your individual health, but also the health of the people whom you are living with, no? So ang complex, ang daming variables para tayo makagawa or makagalaw. Lastly, ambiguity. This is to refer to the unknown unknowns or the unknown relationships or factors that are unclear to us. Gaano ba ka-related yung hindi pagpasa ng isang submission or ng isang output sa mental health ng isang estudyante? Or ano pa ba ang mga kailangang factors na tignan natin para pwede na magbalik sa eskwela? These are things that are unclear, and these are things na marami silang connections na hindi natin ma-pinpoint currently. So that's your VUCA, and everything about it is actually, well, nakaka-stress, no? It gives you anxiety. But to answer or to resolve VUCA, we have another set of VUCA, which are these, no? Vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. Vision is actually orienting yourself of the changes that are around you. As a person, as a student, or even as a teacher, no, you have to look at the things that are changing, no? What's changing in your situation right now? Vision, no? Envision it, look at it, no? Think about it. Hindi yung iniisnab mo siya. Tignan mo kung ano yung nangyayari sa'yo. Accept that these things are changing, no? List them down for you to be able to address them. Understanding is getting enough information about your problem. If your problem would be internet connection, yun na yung na-visualize mo, orient mo na yung sarili mo, ang problema ko, internet connection. Get enough information for you to, try to resolve that problem. But the problem is, sometimes, these are things that are out of our hands, diba? Complex, ambiguous. So, for you to try to resolve that, what are your alternatives? Understand the problem and look for alternatives. In my case, no, I tell my students na, if your problem is your internet connection, baka isipin nyo mayaman silang lahat. Hindi lahat ng estudyante ko mayaman. So some of them have internet connection problems. So if your problem is your internet connection, I would tell them, you can download the materials from our learning management system, work on them offline, and then go back to the online class and submit everything that can be submitted at a certain schedule lang, so that you can actually work with your bandwidth. That's fine. I even tell my students, if you cannot attend the session because your bandwidth cannot support the bandwidth of your internet connection cannot support the bandwidth of Zoom, it's okay to be absent. Okay, and then just watch the recording and then ask me questions because I post it on the discussion board. So understanding, getting the adequate information and coming up with alternatives will help you work your way through the difficulty that you have. Another is clarity. Come up with a clear direction. No, and this clear direction is not going to be laid out to you. No, you're already in college and you have the faculty and mindset to actually come up with specific steps that you can take to come up with your own direction, to clear things out for you, no? And then agility. If you're from IT, you would know Agile and Scrum models. Yon. Agility has something to do with being flexible and trying to answer like problems or resolve the problems as you see them. So all of these things, no, we know that the world is quite stressful right now, and there are a lot of things that are not on our hands. But if we are resourceful and come up with, visualize the things that are happening, come up with alternatives, the world will be less stressful. I'm not saying that the stress will be gone. It will just be less stressful for you. So I hope that this is clear with you. Now, what are your emerging problems? So I said ago, no, I asked you to answer a form. I think there were 45 who answered the form that I asked you to answer before this session. So what were the emerging problems of students that I have seen in that sensing form? Internet connection. This is a very big problem among us because there are a lot of stemming problems that we have, because of the internet connection and being at home. It is difficult to communicate. To tell you frankly, it is also a problem with me, during the first year of the online classes. There are 3 people who are working from home in this household. And it's quite difficult, especially at a certain time of the day, wherein everyone is, working, nasabay-sabay yung Zoom sessions namin, 3 nagtatrabaho, tapos yung tatay ko manonood ng Netflix, no? Nararamdaman nyo rin ba yun na lahat kayo nagtatrabaho sa isang bahay, pare-pareho kayong messaging app, ganyan. Tapos sasabay pa yung Netflix, edi ang bilis ng bandwidth na kailangan, ang daming kailangan, no? What happened was, in our case, we had to talk about it, no? In a time wherein everyone is working online and the resource for your internet connection is really mahirap, no? Especially here in the Philippines, ang bagal ng internet, tapos ang mahal ng linya, you have to talk about it. In our case, in our family, we had to apply for another internet connection. But I know that not all of you can afford that, no? Even my students couldn't afford having 2 internet connections, di ba? What can you do, no? You have to visualize and understand your situation. All of you are working online. Talk to the people in the family kung alin ba ang activities online na pwedeng later on na lang, sa ibang time slot nila gawin. Like pag Netflix, ganyan. Huwag yung gawin kasabay ng trabaho. And if it doesn't work still, no, talking to the members of your household about your time slot of using or maximizing your bandwidth, what can happen or what can you do is actually discipline yourself. No, habang nag-Zoom kayo, hindi na kayo pwedeng nagme-messenger. Kasi dalawa yung kain niyang internet connection, no? So habang nag-uusap kayo habang nagkaklase kayo sa Zoom, bawal mo na mag-chismisan sa messenger ng group niyo sa klase. Ganon. Kasi it's supposed to like get more bandwidth kung may chismisan kayo on the side. Ganong mga klaseng bagay. Another thing that I see in your emerging problems, apart from the internet connection that you have, is the difficulty to communicate with people online na hindi nyo nakikita. Am I right? Nahihirapan kayo to talk to your professors, to your group mates, to your group leaders, or group members if you're the group leader. What can you do about it? It's quite difficult, no? this type of problem is a problem with people na for the professors in your organization or in your university, it is understandable that they do not respond to you right away. No, in my case, I have less than 100 students for this SEM. 4 sections na yon. So, pagka may nag-email sa akin, sasagutin ko sila kaagad kasi onti lang sila. But in the case of the professors that you have, no, magkakaiba yan. Yung 100 students na yan, minsan sa isang section lang yan. And I would understand if they don't answer all of their emails. And the problems of your professor is something that you cannot solve, di ba, if you're a student. But you can come up with a way or a system for you to talk to your professor. Why not, instead of sabay-sabay kayong mag-email sa professor nyo, if you have a similar problem, come up with a group, come up with, one whole email that you will send to your professor, na yun na yung sasagutin niya. So that way, it will be easier for you to communicate your queries, your questions. In my case, no, we have a secretary in a class. Sometimes, kahit na ganun kaunti yung mga estudyante ko, yung secretary pa rin yung magsasabi sa akin ng problema. Kasi nahihiya yung ibang estudyante na lumapit diretso sa akin. Pero it's something that you can do. You can compile all of your questions. Just ask one of the students in your group to send out the question to the professor. That way, isa lang ang email. Hindi maraming sabay-sabay 5 na may problema. Kasi isa lang yung problema nila. Eh, di ika-copy-paste lang nila yung sagot. Napagod si prof, di ba? So, you can come up with a system for that, no? You just have to understand the situation of your professor if that's unclear or difficult for you. Now, for students and na may problema sa groupmates or sa leader, no? I think for that kind of problem, you have to, again, understand and make things clear at the start pa lang of your grouping. Is this leader someone whom we can talk to right away? Di ba siya nagkakaroon ng problema online? Or, really, socially, can this person be someone we can talk to right away? Who can address our problems and so on. Ganun kayo dapat mamili ng leader. Hindi dahil sikat yung tao, maganda siya, ganyan, siya na yung leader nyo. You have to understand each other, and your selection of leadership is more complex this time around kasi hindi lang dahil personable si student, pwede na siyang maging leader. Ngayon kasi, a leader should be someone who really can understand your situation and who has resources as well. And if the problem is, the platform kung saan kayo nag-uusap, maybe you can change and explore other platforms. Masyadong mahal pagka laging sa Zoom nag-uusap or sa MS Teams or sa Google Meet. Why don't we meet on Discord? 'Di ba? Mas madaling mag-usap sa Discord, saka mas mura ang bandwidth or mas mababa ang bandwidth na kailangan for Discord. These are things that you can do, no? If the problem is online and your grouping and your your leaders and your faculty members. Another thing that I asked during the sensing form is this, no? What do you miss most about the face-to-face setup? And most students, actually, you miss the people or the interaction. That's why yun din yung sinabi ko sa inyo, you have to understand the people. Because right now, ang hindi nyo nakikita kasi yung tao face-to-face. But then, you're still communicating with people, even if it's online. Your professors are at the back of the screen or nandyan sila, no? Virtually, may tao dyan sa likod ng screen or dyan sa likod, no? At alam niyo na may sasagot dyan. And nawala lang yung human touch and, proximity ng tao. But people are there. yes, you cannot see the emotions of the people. I cannot see, no, kung nagkakamot ba kayo ng ulo dyan or hindi natin nakikita. And this is something that we cannot work on currently. But when you think about it, these are things that can have alternatives in your online setup. Actual interactions with teachers, actual interactions with friends can also be done virtually. I know that it is difficult, but we cannot do anything about it right now because there are connections between face-to-face setup and transmitting a certain disease. Actually, schools are the super spreader venues of diseases. Hindi nyo ba naisip na nung bata kayo, pagka may isang section na may isang estudyanteng nagkabulutong, mamaya halos kalahati ng klase may bulutong na, okay? It's the same with COVID kung mag-open tayo ng klase. So the sacrifice right now would be us not having interaction with actual people, but we can come up with alternatives to that. And hopefully naman, no, our government would come up with safe ways to go back to classes, which we all, not all want, but most of us would like to have at least the flexible terms of going back to classes. But right now, there are things that we can do to, come up with alternatives to it. Things that I learned from my students are coming up with a Discord channel. They have Discord channel for yung library nila. So, kunyari nasa library sila. Meron silang background music, tapos pag kami may ingay, ganun sila. So, may mga ganon. Or they sometimes have a Discord channel where they are just there to study, and then if there's one person who would ask a question, yun, tanong lang, tapos may sasagot, ganyan. There are a lot of people who are saying na face-to-face classes is really more effective than the online setup. And studies would agree with you if we are talking about people or students in the earlier grades, no? Kasi ito yung mga hindi pa marunong magbasa, magsulat, and they need guidance by their teachers, no? And currently in our setup, parents are supposed to be the ones who are helping their young learners in the modules. Pero there are a lot of studies saying that independent learners, those who are in college, no, effective ang online setting sa kanila. Although, yeah, no, meron din studies na nagsasabi na mas mabuti ang face-to-face classes. And I think anecdotal experiences would tell you na, mas mabuti ang face-to-face setup. And you miss that setup and you feel that you're learning from that setup. You have the faculty to actually learn from an online setup. Kaya nyo eh. It's just that there are things that we have to sacrifice currently. Yon. And another thing that I asked would be if there are aspects of the online setup that you want to retain in the face-to-face setup, when it resumes. And you're also, yung mga estudyante na sumagot nito, the affordances of the learning management system, yung kaya nilang gawin with Canvas, like flexible deadlines, communicating with professors online, submitting assessments online. Those are the things that are still fine with you face-to-face na yung setup. And when I looked at it, so ang gusto nyo na lang ay, if we do face-to-face setup, you have interaction with students and your professors, pero you still learn from online materials, from asynchronous sessions. You still learn from the flexible deadlines, no? And I think right now, currently, what you have to do is to maximize it, no? Kasi these are things that are still working for you. Kasi you want them to be retained even if you are in the face-to-face setup already. Now, how do you deal with your communication problems using this VOCA term? No? I think that's what I have been saying since a while ago. You start with orienting yourself of the things that are happening. Whatever online communication problem that you have, list them down. You have to acknowledge them. Nandyan sila. Meron tayong problema. And you have to know and orient yourself of all of these changes or the things that are happening around you that's related to online classes, related to communication. And then once you already know these problems, you have to get as much information as you can. Try to understand why they occur. And if this is something that's actionable for you, you can come up with a way to resolve them. But if hindi ikaw yung kayang mag-resolve nun, you can come up with your personal alternatives to them. Give yourself a clear action point. No? How would I work on it? And be flexible, agile, and try to resolve problems in communication once you see them right away. Okay, so here are some of the things that were asked during the sentencing form pre-registration. Here are some of your questions, and I'll try to answer them already. And I think I can also resolve some of your, not resolve, but address some of your questions later on after this presentation. So one question that I have is, how do we overcome virtual fatigue? Some students, kasi what happens to them is that if they are tired of studying, manonood sila ng K-drama, manonood ng Netflix, totoo ba ito? Okay, you can react, no? Use the reaction button. So, your work is virtual. You have to, go out of the virtual realm for you to relax yourself. Kasi kung virtual ang nakakapagpa-fatigue sa'yo, virtual si online class, tapos titingin ako sa YouTube pagkatapos, virtual din yon. What I normally do is do things or leave the virtual realm, do things that are not virtual activities, like do household chores, maglinis ng kwarto, ganyan. Talk to your pets. Pwede yun. Kasi kung minsan busy yung mga tao sa bahay, talk to things that are not busy. Yung pets, di ba? Yung aso namin, hindi naman sila busy. Makikipag-usap ako sa kanila or makikipaglaro, no, sa pets. I talk to my plants sometimes. So, if you are virtually fatigued, you have to leave the virtual world. You have, pwede kang matulog, no? But in some cases, some people, they don't sleep or hindi siya na-alleviate ng sleep. You must know yourself, find out what relaxes you, but as much as possible, find an activity that is outside of the virtual world kasi tataas yung grado ng mata nyo. Pwedeng kumain. Pwede naman kumain talaga. So, yun. It is a good thing to also have a certain time slot for certain activities. Kasi sa estudyante ko, sobrang flexible yung schedules namin. Basta, ang hirap i-explain. Pero, hindi kami yung every week nagmi-meet. So, talagang flexible yung modules na dinevelop ko for my classes. And so, pwedeng gawin nila is to 1 hour spend on reading this and then rest muna tapos an hour spending reading another thing. ganun din yung sa grad school where I attend. My modules, the modules that I have where I learn as a student are also like that. I um, read materials, then after that, pwede ako on my own time, rest, go to my plants or talk to my pets. Playing online games, kasi gito yan, no? Virtual din yung online game. Siguro kung nawawala ang virtual fatigue ninyo through online games, okay lang. But for some people, no, physically, it gets tiring when they're virtually. Another question that I have received is this: how do I improve my communication in the virtual classes setup? It depends on you, no? When we talk about communication in the online setup, it's not really about the things that you're using. It's not about the systems that you're using. Communication is still a human factor, no? Tao ka na gumagamit lang ng online setup. So what does that mean? You have to improve your personal attitude towards communication. If the problem is that you don't understand people, go to their level, try to understand them. Okay? If the problem is one channel is not working for you, hindi gumagana si Viber, okay, lipat tayo sa Messenger, lipat tayo sa ibang applications kasi pwede kang lumipat na application kasi you're the person who can decide. Okay? Next, eto. Which one do you prefer, kung online or physical class, and how do you cope up, and what do you miss most po? Ang haba ng question niya. But in this question, no, tinry ko siyang sagutin while I was practicing for this presentation. I actually don't have any preference. A teacher can teach in any, like a good teacher, I believe, can teach in any of the setup. Personally, I can call this, kung ako masusunod, mas gusto ko yung online kasi hindi na ako mag-commute, medyo malayo yung Katipunan, no? Pero I can also see a lot of pros in the physical class kasi at least makita ng estudyante ko. Ako, for some things na mahirap i-explain, I can explain to them face to face. Now, how do I cope and what do I miss the most? Maybe what I miss the most would be going outside of the house kasi we really don't move outside. No, the only time that I have to leave the house would be for the vaccine. Diba? Yun yung namimiss ko sa physical setup, leaving the house. Pero I think it's if you are open to whether physical class or online class, you can make things work. No, it's about a person's or a teacher or student's willingness to adapt to the changes and make things work for them. Do you think students really learn in an online class? When I was reading these questions, this is one of the questions that is like very striking for me. And yes, I used to think that students don't learn from online classes like before pa yung actual online classes. But now I believe that they learn from online classes. And what are the landmarks of like how do I know, no, that they're learning? On the next semester, after I taught research, no, on the next semester, a colleague told me, "Oy, itong ganito natutunan to ni ganitong student sa klase mo, ah." And then I would not think that they were really learning. Parang ano ba yan, baka gumagawa lang sila ng requirements. Yan. Pero once there are affirmations coming from students and coming from other faculty members, and I see it on their output on the next class that they have, or when I sit on their thesis panel, I would realize na oo nga, natuto nga sila sa klase ko. And as a student, a graduate student myself, and I've been studying this is my third semester of studying fully online. I can see that I am learning as well. No? So it's just about being open to the changes, about knowing yourself and how you can learn despite the despites, no? Despite the difficulties and despite not having a teacher face to face, not having a teacher explaining each of the terms to you. There are ways for you to learn, and if you find out how you can do that, then yon, kaya mo matuto sa online class. Okay, so another side of questions. What are the different activities you can recommend to engage students during online learning? If this is a teacher asking this, there is more engagement in my asynchronous classes than in my synchronous classes. I have discussion boards in my class na parang Reddit, na nagdi-discuss lang sila. Pinag-uusapan nila, this is a reading material or a video, and then they discuss how things are. And the discussion is free-flowing. So, makikita mo doon na yung mga estudyante ko, they talk about the things that they found out na free-flowing discussion. I see them engage well there in asynchronous sessions compared to synchronous sessions. Kasi synchronous sessions, the only way that I would engage with them, di ba, mag-discuss akong ganyan. Kasi if you have questions, chat box, ganyan. Or if you understand everything, bawal kasi yung video. If you understand everything, can I get a thumbs up? Tapos naghintay ako, mga 5 minutes. Tapos marami ng thumbs up. Those are the engagements that I have during my online classes. There is more engagement in asynchronous sessions. Siguro kasi may time silang mag-isip kung anong isusulat nila. And engagement also in consultation. Kasi specified sa needs nila yung kailangan kong i-address. Personally, actually, when I was invited for this webinar, nagulat ako na dapat magsasalita ako ng 1 hour kasi hindi na ako sanay. Most of my sync sessions would run around 15 minutes to 30 minutes. Because Zoom fatigue happens when your Zoom sessions are quite long. Tulad nito. Di ba? Mamaya nito mapapagod kayo. So, I make things really, really short for Zoom sessions like this. And then for, yun nga, yung on your own time, dun nag-engage yung estudyante ko with the activities and with the discussions. Yun. Pero yun nga, it works for us, for the system that we're following. But in your case, medyo mahirap siyang gawin. Next, what advices, dapat advice lang to, sorry, hindi ko na in-edit. Can you give to students who are struggling with our new normal classroom setup? Okay, so I'm also a student, and these communication apps and management apps that we have, I try to come up with a way to make them personal or personalize them. I come up with my own schedule, no? In the new normal setup, meron tayong schedules na sinusunod. There are deadlines, diba? For quizzes, for papers, and I have my internal deadline. So, in the new normal classroom setup, no, which is my assumption is that it's the online classroom setup. You have to come up with your own schedule, no, na isusundin mo. And your deadline for a certain activity should not be the deadline, okay, for your, should not be the deadline for your class, no, that mas maaga. Kasi the problem also in the online setting is yun nga, yung internet. And you have to adapt, no? And come up with ways na pwede mo kasi silang i-download. And if you cannot print them, at least offline, you can work on them para hindi sayang sa internet connection. Mga ganung bagay yung mga ginagawa ko. Pero feeling ko, yung pinaka nakakatulong sa akin as a student would be to give myself my own deadline. Iba yung deadline ko sa deadline ng classes ko. Yun. And then, is no communication still a form of communication? Yes, no? If your professor cannot respond to you, the professor is communicating something. It means that they are so busy or nasabi niya yan. Sometimes, mag-email kayo sa professor tapos parang, kung hindi to nakinig sa akin, malamang, yun yung nasa isip nila, hindi to nakinig sa akin nung sync session ko, nasabi ko na to eh. So, hindi lang sila mag-reply sa'yo. Okay, so it's a form of communication also, no? If people do not respond to you. And what advice can you give students that are having hard time communicating with their group leaders? I think na-mention ko na to kanina. Kung nandyan na yung group leader nyo ngayon, wala ka nang magagawa. Pero I think this is something that you can resolve as early as at the time when you're choosing a group leader. Choose a group leader supposedly who knows how to communicate well and can be reached when you are having a group meeting. Pero if the group leader is pre-assigned, ito na yung group leader natin, ito yung sabi, you can talk first, no? Kaya mo ba, group leader, this task? Are there things that you would like to us to do? Talk first, no? Tao si group leader, and you have to resolve it as human beings, and not based on the online setup, not based on your resources na ginagamit nyo. Now, I would like to end this by saying, at the end of the day, we are humans, and even if you have like online setup and you are overwhelmed by the machines, overwhelmed by the online classes, we have to look at the humans inside us, because we are the ones who can think. We are the ones who can feel the stress. We are the ones who can resolve our problems, and not the online setup. There are systems that are in place na minsan medyo mahirap, going or doing our way with things because of these systems that are in place. But if we can come up with ways to adjust to that system that is in place, then we can resolve our problems during the online setting. We cannot completely, fully resolve it. Ito yun, no? Parang kung nandyan na yung sistema, sometimes we cannot really fully resolve it. Kahit na gusto natin magligtas na balik eskwela, kung sabi ng CHED tsaka ni DepEd, hindi natin kaya, wala tayong magagawa. So, what can we do about that? We can adjust. As human beings, we have the faculty to adjust and to, feel and understand the things that are happening, no? So, at the end of the day, we are humans, and the humans are the ones who are communicating. The machines that you're using, yung gadgets ninyo, these are just tools for you to learn or for you to communicate, and they are not supposed to be the ones who will dictate how you will communicate, no? So at the end of the day, you are the ones who will be looking at the world. You are the ones who will be adjusting to every situation that you are in. And that's it for my presentation. I just have some references here if you're interested about the VUCA term. And I think that would be all.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Rombaoa. We really appreciate that informative talk that you just presented. And now, let me just share some of my insights from what you have discussed. Pwede ba pong Taglish? Okay, so I can really relate to the first set of VUCA, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Well, the reason for that is because being volatility changes changes everywhere. You can It's one thing that's constant for sure. And another thing is uncertainty in life. Um, marami po talaga mga uncertainties na nangyayari sa buhay natin na one day let's say you're planning to go out with your friends. So, tulad po nitong pandemic, last year me and my friends had a plan to go out, our usual hangouts po, tapos ayun, boom, bilang pandemic. Tapos, complexity, there are a lot of variables that you have to deal with in life. So that's it. And relating to uncertainty is also the unknown. So, second thing that I would like to note is that it's really important nga po that we understand each other, because there wouldn't be any communication without understanding. No, it's really key, in terms of communicating with the group, especially pag leader po kayo. Ano ba yung paano yung accomplish na isang project kung wala po kayong communication within the group. So that's a very vital key in finishing the project. And last po, may just add on na na-realize ko na rin po yung advantage namin ng generation po namin, since we're medyo techy po kami sa compared po sa previous generation when it comes to online learning po talaga. So really appreciate that po. What about you, partner? Ano yung na-realize mo? Nakamit ka. Partner, nakamit ka.
Check your mic. Maybe it's not plugged in.
Hello po?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I got nervous. Sorry. So before I share what I realized after Ma'am Rombaoa's talk, as I was listening to Ma'am Rombaoa, it's like we were just having an ordinary class, just like the old times. I mean, it's very informative, very detailed, and she's very interactive with the audience. And tama yung unang sinabi niya na everything in the first VOCA is very stressful, but the second VOCA, these are the things that we can come up to find solutions to these new setup, and so it won't be too much for us, right? And I would also like to add from what Ma'am Rombaoa's question, on the things I miss the most in the face-to-face setup is the change of location in every subject. Yes, because I remember one time, Ma'am Tia told us the reason why we need to change classes every subject is because we lack focus when we just stay in one room. Am I correct, ma'am?
Yeah. Parang if you're just in one room, like right now, di ba, pagka online setup,
Yes.
You tend to parang nabuburyong ka, tapos mag-iisip ka ng ibang bagay. So that's a problem. So maganda yung you leave from one place to another. And that's why I was telling you na sometimes after like working on something at one point, makikipag-usap muna ako sa halaman, o kaya makikipag-usap muna ako sa aso, to have a change in environment. Kasi yung environment ko ngayon, tong desk ko, yung kama ko sa likod, ganyan, yun na yun. But then, di ba, parang how do you as a person, no, come up with a way for you to change location even if you cannot read yun. So, kasi nawawala talaga yung focus mo or mababore ka kung nasa isang lugar ka lang. So, you have to exercise. You have to really walk, no? Kasi importante yun. Nakaupo ka lang. Wala. Yeah, so you have to exercise also. Stand after a certain class din.
Yes. Oh, and I just want to grab this opportunity, ma'am. And it's out of the topic, but I want to say that I got inspired by you and Ma'am Reyna to speak confidently in front of people. Like, I don't know if you still remember me because I think I was in your class for only 2 weeks because I transferred to Ma'am Tia's class because of the class conflict in class schedule. But in my 2 weeks in your class, we had this activity where we will find a certain topic and we will share it to our classmates in front of the class without the script. So imagine I'm not used to do that and I'm not confident in talking in front of people, but with the training that I had during your time for only 2 weeks, it's a big deal for me because it's my small achievement. And look at me right now hosting this webinar.
Yeah, congratulations, no? Yeah,
Thank
I
you
remember
so much.
that. Kasi it was an evening class na siya, di ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
Yes, the
you will
development.
Yes, and I realized also na, oo nga no, hindi naman nakakamatay magsalita in front of people. And you will tell us na, don't be shy, di ako nangagat, something like that.
Yeah,
That's what I learned from you during your time.
it's good.
So before we proceed to the Q&A, we are requesting everyone to rename or display names with the format your first name and last name / university. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we will now be moving on to the Q&A portion. Please do your questions and curiosities regarding Ms. Rombao's talk earlier, and we will go over and we'll try to answer them all. Ayun. Ay, Ma'am Rombaoa, nga pala po. Busy pala po, ma'am.
Don't be shy, guys.
Well, I miss working then with students like you, and I also miss being on campus, no? Kasi like I've been and I have started working in FA Diliman 2012. So ang tagal kong pumunta doon. So na-miss kong pumunta doon kasi among the universities or the places where I work, I think I spent most time of my professional life in FA Diliman. So when the student asked me to have a talk, I thought about it, but then I had to accept kasi yun nga, I had been there for quite some time. Yeah. Are we waiting for questions coming from our participants?
Yes, ma'am. But for now, we prepared some questions.
Okay.
Since everyone is quite nervous, guys, we're prepared. So our first question will be, what is or is there a best form of communication?
Okay, so when we talk about communication is a very broad field, no? Parang, is there a best way of communicating? Actually, we cannot say that there is one, pero there is a good manner of communication, like an advised manner of communication. And when you communicate, you're supposed to understand the people that you're communicating with. You have to be direct, especially for the online setting, kasi we tend to lose our concentration or our focus on a lot of things during the online setting kasi ang daming dumarating, no? And we don't have a lot of time. So in the online setting, it's better to be direct it's a good manner of communication. Keep your communications short. Don't have a lot of like, yung mga, di ba, pagka face to face, maraming palabok, ma'am, kasi diretsuhin nyo na, no? Ma'am, this is good. Kunyari, mag-email kayo, good day. I emailed because, ganyan na agad. Or if you think your professor doesn't know you yet, sabihin nyo kung sino kayo, from what section, and then eto na yung problema. If it's a group communication, it's better to be direct. Kasi the better, the earlier things finish in the discussion, the better it is. Yun.
All right. So for our second question po, ma'am, is what would be the worst communication barrier or barriers? Or could you name any po?
Okay. In terms of the medium, the worst barrier that we have right now would be the internet connection. Okay? So, yun na yun. That's the worst barrier in the online setup. Wala internet connection. Wala. Hindi ka na makikipag-usap, diba? So, yun siya. But in terms of personal communication, the worst barrier would be being close-minded. It's because if you're close-minded, you don't have the time or you don't have the faculty to understand what the other person is saying. No, wala na akong paki sa kanya. So that's the worst barrier, I guess.
Right.
So, I think there. Good job.
Okay.
Okay po. I'll see you.
From Runa May, she's an organizer here. Although you're a professor, what kept you sane throughout the pandemic, online setting aside?
Okay, what kept me sane throughout the pandemic? If I will be telling you a personal story, kasi at the start of the pandemic, one thing about uncertainty is the uncertainty of not having a job, no? Like, bukas ba may trabaho pa ako? That's one of the things that that really bothered me at the start of the pandemic. And what kept me sane is having a job. Okay, that's one. And being with my employer right now, having stability, it kept me sane. It's not only because of the stability in the income, kasi the systems that we have are not that stressful. Ang onti lang ng estudyante ko, like if I'm comparing with my friends from other schools, I have only a few students. That's keeping me sane because I don't need to manage like hundreds of students at the same time. Another thing would be that's keeping me sane would be siguro apart from that, yung another thing with my employer is we have like spiritual or reflective activities. No, it's keeping me sane. No, we have virtual retreats that I attend, some webinars that are helpful with like how to work with the situation that we're in. Mga ganong klaseng webinar, we have those. So that's helping me keep myself sane. But outside of the teaching, outside of outside of the career, watch shows, no? K-drama, ngayon Thai drama, ganyan. Oo, kasi masaya silang panoorin. Not watching the news a lot is also keeping me sane. There's only one, like, isa lang time slot ko for the news. It's not that I don't watch the news. I still watch the news because I have to. I'm a communication instructor. So, I really have to. Pero may oras lang siya. Hindi ako magbabasa lagi ng balita sa Twitter or sa Facebook. Nasa 6:30 to 8 or 9 lang sila nandun. Yun. That's what is keeping me sane during the pandemic. Oo, K-drama, Tracy.
Yes. We're the same. I got into K-dramas recently lang during the start of pandemic. And yun po yung parang stress reliever ko rin.
Yeah. Oo, tapos para kanina ka bumabangon ako para kay Xiaonu. Ayan.
Wow.
Mga ganun bagay.
Yes, and I remember, ma'am, one time, you told us a story about you flying to other countries sa mga Korean K-pop, I think.
Oo. I parang pumunta ako ng isang weekend sa Taiwan para manood ng concert.
Wow, super effort.
Yun. Yun talaga.
And now they are giving us suggestions ng mga K-dramas to watch. Okay, thank you guys for that.
Yeah.
Alala ko po, ma'am, dati. You told us po in one of your classes po that you were learning Korean po.
Yes.
Ma'am, can I say something lang po? You can respond na lang po in Korean po. I'm trying to study na rin po. I've just started lang.
Hirapan ako. Okay.
Just a simple ano lang po. 어떻게 지냈어요, ma'am?
어떻게
지냈어요?
잘 지냈어요. I'm good.
Kasamnida, madam.
Para ako nasa K-drama.
Ganon. Yeah, it's something that keeps you sane. In some cases, no. I take breaks that are virtual breaks, pero meron din akong oras sa K-drama. Nung hindi pa tayo online setup, nakakapag marathon pa ako. Pero because of the online setup, sabi hindi ko kaya mag-marathon. Mga isang episode kada araw lang kasi nakakapagod siya sa mata, sa utak, ganyan. So you have to also, moderate your your use of gadgets kasi nakaka-fatigue siya.
I agree with that, ma'am. So guys, do you have any further questions or do you have anything to say to Ma'am Rombaoa? Isang happy National Teachers Day. Happy Teachers Day naman dyan, guys. So if wala na, kindly send us a reaction of how you are feeling right now after Ma'am Rombaoa's talk. One heart emoji, please.
Ayan, ang daming nag-repeat ng Happy Teachers Days. Oh.
What's your plan on Teachers Day, ma'am?
That's October 5, tama ba?
Yes po.
Tinitingnan ko yung kalendaryo ko. Kung meron ako plan. I have class during that day. I think I have submission also for graduate school. Pero in our university, there is a group of students who will celebrate, they have a program for that, pero belated siya. October 9, I guess. Yun. So, I'll attend that.
It's better late than never.
Yeah. Hindi, pero advance sila na meron na silang info session and everything. Ayaw lang nila na kasabay siya ng klase. Kaya later than October 5. Yun.
Yes. Okay. Do you have anything to advertise, ma'am? A business or something? Racket? Kung saan ka namin makikita, ma'am?
Wala akong racket. I'm currently, yesterday kasi yung naging event kung saan ako moderator. So, hindi nyo na yun mapapanood. But yeah, I'm currently teaching in Ateneo, working on my graduate school in UP. And I think if you follow Ateneo Center for Journalism, some of the activities I am invited there. You can attend seminars in 𝐂𝐸𝐻. Yun lang siguro. And then, wala akong current na, kasi yung mapanood, wala ako. My projects right now are things that like research, babasahin. So yun, I'm currently working on our PCS review journal. It's an academic journal for communication. I'm one of the editorial assistants. And we are currently accepting papers for publication. So yun yung ginagawa ko ngayon.
So guys, take note of that. Medyo busy si ma'am.
Medyo lang.
Yes, but pwede naman din kayo i-invite for webinars naman.
Oo, depende lang sa sa schedule. Actually, the schedule was given ahead of time. That's why like bago yung mga klase ko sa grad school. So I was able to say yes, and I was free during that time. But currently siguro mga weekend na webinars would be much better throughout October. Yun. Kasi yun nga marami.
Good thing, ma'am, you were here.
Yeah, maaga kayo nag-invite.
Yes. Good job, team. Again, we thank you for the time you spent imparting your knowledge in this webinar. In return, we would like to present to you an e-certificate as a token of appreciation. Please allow me to read the citation. This certificate of appreciation is given to Miss Jasmine Sabrina Rombaoa in tribute for her willingness to share her wisdom and expertise as a speaker in the webinar entitled Importance of Communication in Online Classes, given this 29th day of September 2021 via Zoom, signed by Ms. Demina Villarreal, the President of Operation Management Student Association, Mr. Jose Barcela Jr., the Advisor for 𝐕𝐦𝐻𝐿, Ms. Runa May Rodriguez, and Ms. Carl Parinas, the project heads of this event.
Once again, let us give a positive reaction to Ms. Rombaoa. Now let us have our photo opportunity with Ma'am Jazz together with our participants. So kindly open your cameras, guys.
Yes, let's all participate. It's once in a lifetime experience. So we have 6 pages. So let's first start off with the first page. So Kyle will be the one to print screen. Okay, are we guys ready? Let's open our cameras. Okay, smile.
Smile.
1, 2, 3, smile. Second page. 1, 2, 3, smile. And the third page. 1, 2, 3. Fourth page. 1, 2, 3, smile. Second to the last. 1, 2, 3, smile. And on our last page. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for participating also. Again, thank you so much, Ms. Rombaoa. I hope everyone's ready for more as we are about to introduce our next speaker. Before that, can we have energy level check?
Come on, guys. Give us some life.
So we can know that you're still there. Kaya may level check. Energy level check tayo.
Please type in the word communication. We'd appreciate it if you type in communication down in the comment section so we see everyone's still tuned in.
No, all caps communication. Okay, there's a lot of comments as a chat box. So I think they're very much ready now, Carlos.
All right, awesome. So moving on to our second speaker.
Yes, and so welcoming our second speaker, the choir director of Larena, Second Mass Choir in Larena, Siquijor and Coro de San Nicolas in Negros Oriental, became the choir master for 𝐕𝐦𝐻𝐿 Negros Vox Orphanorum, who serenaded former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo for 𝐈𝐸𝐻𝐿 International Convention and International Water Summit. Mentor Jen Chog, GMA's grand winner from Anak Ko Yan competition. Hindi pa nagtatapos. Founder of Negros Oriental Music Society, and last He is the current City Administrator of 𝐈𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐿 City Negros Oriental. Please welcome Professor Jeremias Perez.
Good day, good afternoon, everyone. I am esteemed for this invitation, and first, I would like to thank the organization that invited me, 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐻𝐸𝐿 OMSA, and special thanks also to Vice President Lee and to Kaliban for the coordination. The topic that you have given me is the importance of communication in online classes. I must confess that I have to go through 7 articles at least for this topic, but I end up using only 3. I will be also sharing to you my experiences and the experiences of my colleagues in the academe in La Consolacion College by 𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐿. To your topic that you have given me, the importance of communication in online classes, I wish to start with the article entitled The Importance of Online Communication in Higher Education, written by Emanuela Maria Avram, Romanian American University in Bucharest, Romania, in Network Intelligence Studies, Volume 3, Issue 1, 5, 2015. She started her abstract with, the communication system is highly developed in the academic environment. It not only involves the communication between the university and the outside world through exchanges of messages, but also the internal one with the employees and students. When she said that communication system is highly developed in the academic environment, well, I must say that that is the role of the academe, schools, communication. And when she said that it not only involves the communication between the university and the outside world through exchanges of message, okay, the university and the outside world, but also the internal one among employees or among teachers and students. So there's a lot of communication that we are going to discuss. The university's communication to the outside world and the communication from within. Now, in my sociological studies in UP Diliman with Randy David, we had this course whose title is Luhmann and Habermas. And Niklas Luhmann, sociologist, talked about institutions to be cells in a society. And he says that every functioning institution, be that a school, a church, a government, or even the law, okay, the institution of the law, the family, economic enterprise, etc., is like a cell which is operationally closed but cognitively open. Which means that schools, for example, they have their own administration. Perhaps it starts with the board of trustees or the board of regents, as in the case of state universities. And then the decisions of the board are brought to the president. The president relates it to the principals or to the vice presidents, be they the vice president for academic affairs, vice president for finance, vice president for research, and so on and so forth. And then communicated to the deans. And then from the deans, coordinators and maybe subject chairs or department chairs. Now, that is an operation which is closed in the school mismo. Probably, you can refer to it as the internal one, okay? The internal one among administration, okay? And then relate to the students, of course. However, as in the case of the church also, well, you might have the Roman Pontiff, that will be the Pope, on top, and then communication relayed to the cardinals, College of Cardinals, or probably simply directly to bishops, which are called ordinaries or ordinary bishops, on their respective dioceses. And then the bishops communicate it to the priests, and then the priests, the parish priests, or if they are a team, they communicate it to the faithful, and that would be the lay. Okay, every Catholic that is a member of the Catholic Church. Now, these are what you call operationally closed systems. Okay. Operationally closed because they function for the purpose is made. And as in the case of the church, let's say, okay, they talk about the love of God. The love of God has ransomed, has bought you from your sins. All right, that's quite expensive because it's your salvation being bought. But I must say, or every of us believes that it cannot buy you a book from the National Bookstore or any bookstore for that matter. So even if you say, I love you to the beautiful sales girl, she will not give you the book which you want to buy for free. On the other hand, you cannot buy a real estate in heaven or hell, even if you have millions or billions and have it titled in the registry of deeds. I am just trying to enunciate what is an operationally closed institution. So if you talk about National Bookstore, the way of procurement is by money, by cash, or by credit card, then let it be so. You cannot buy a book by saying God loves you. As anyhow, you cannot also buy your salvation even if you are the son of a multi-billionaire. Now, for example, in your school, FEU has its own rules where both students and teachers follow. And it also communicates to the world or to the bigger society, for which it will be respected. And for this, I will discuss about cognitively open. So, for example, the church, even if it operates by itself, it is cognitively open to communicate to schools. So that if your school is a Catholic school, it adheres to the teachings of the Catholic Church. And the church adheres also to the laws of the land. There is no church that can allow crimes to be committed for free. They can also encourage your faithful to commit crimes. For example, they can say, oh, it's all right to kill, it's all right to rape. Why? Because the laws of the lands or the laws of the land prohibits that. Okay? So, even businesses have to be cognitively open to the laws of the land. And all institutions, you will come to think of it, may be operationally closed, but they are cognitively open. Operationally closed and yet cognitively open. Okay, take note of that. Now, let's move. Online communication has gained increasingly in territory in the academic environment lately, especially thanks to the usage of emails and social networks. I know the English majors will react to the specially thanks, but I have to quote this verbatim, so be patiently understanding and kindly considering to this. Okay, it has to be verbatim. It's not my writing. Also, you might think that the phrase online communication has gained increasingly in territory in the academic environment lately to be obsolete. Why? Well, what are valid, I must say. This research was conducted in 2015 when online communication was still gaining in territory. It was still gaining in territory in 2015. But today, it rules, okay? Especially at the time of pandemic, online communication rules. Why do we say so? Tell me a tertiary school that does not use online communication. Without OC, okay, online communication, schools will get my family name, Perez. Okay, one piece will say, you will Perez, or you will perish. Therefore, this paper aims at presenting the main tools of the online communication in higher education, as well as their importance of creating interaction among the participants in the education process. For social networks, this paper dealt with Facebook, Twitter, and Google. And for online communication tools, the email and YouTube. Of course, by now, we have more than what we have right now. Okay? 15, these are the most salient yet. 5. The conclusions emphasize that this communication significantly favors the teaching learning process. Okay? That this type of communication significantly favors the teaching learning process. It creates interaction between students and professors and contributes to the fast dissemination and access of information. Okay. Do you think so? It does? Yes. We use our Google group chats are most essential in classes, and I will share to you my experience also in using that. And much of the materials that I have used in my conduct of art appreciation classes and music appreciation classes are from YouTube, okay, from Google. So these social network platforms actually are very important in online communication. The next article that I wish to discuss to you is Communication in Online Learning, How Important Is It? It is written by Sherry Janine Ash and Robert Molina Lopez. Now, they have this abstract. The purpose of this transcendental phenomenological study was to describe teacher experiences of teacher-to-student technology-mediated communication, or TNC, in secondary virtual school, VS, environments in Alabama. Okay, it's in Alabama. Now, let us discuss the terminologies that this abstract is using. Okay. Transcendental because it is teacher to student. In a sense, communication from teacher to student. It can sense from one person to another person. Phenomenological, okay, as in phenomenology, okay, it's phenomenological because it concerns on the experience on phenomenon. Okay, phenomena. Okay, so how this phenomenon is interpreted, it becomes study. Okay, phenomenological studies. Okay, now students educated in virtual environments use TMC. So teachers must know what kinds of TMC or technology-mediated communication work best. Okay, so they must know what is popular among students and what works best. The problem is that the teacher's voice has been ignored in identifying teacher-to-student TMC that is effective in secondary virtual school environments. I would ask, is it true? Yes and no. Okay, I must start with yes first. Okay, for example, yeah, minsan there are really students who are super smart and that they can be let alone even without teachers to teach them. Just provide them links and they will do their research alone, especially in asynchronous way of creating modules. For example, in my art appreciation module, let's say, well, the first topic is about Gregorian chants, but let's say, let's move to Johann Sebastian Bach. And then the lesson that we shall discuss about would be the Baroque period of music. And foremost is Bach. Now, providing links with the YouTube, okay, and the modules distributed to the students, actually, the student does not have to attend classes. Okay, does not have to attend classes. Why? Because the links are all there. And then the question is there. Okay, it would ask you about how Bach's style would be this, and how would you react to it? How do you appreciate it? Okay, now, but then again, I know because there is a certain degree of teacher aspects needed in the interpretation of questions. Okay, for example, if you have a question as, how do the works of the great masters impress you with their gigantic and very ambitious projects? Okay, you cannot deny it that the word gigantic and very ambitious comes from the teacher. The teacher sees it to be very ambitious. Projects would be very ambitious. Okay. For example, the Sistine Chapel of 𝐂𝐤𝐿𝐴ngelo Buonarroti, I might see it to be ambitious, others may not. Okay, but more or less, it's gigantic, it's huge. Even the Statue of David, all these things of great masters, the works of 𝐂𝐤𝐿𝐴ngelo Buonarroti, the works of Leonardo da Vinci, we call them great, ambitious, gigantic, huge, magnificent. With my question, you can see already bias on the teacher regarding that. And that there is something that the teacher wants you to. So that if you simply look into Google, the teacher will know that you visited that site and you simply tap it. I will have some examples to do that. So, for example, okay, I will read to you some answers. Okay, of course, I will not mention the names. Some answers of my students, which will definitely tell me that they have simply copied from Google or for any other website for that matter. Okay, for example, the topic is on realism, paintings on realism, neoclassicism, and romanticism. This is arts and humanities, okay, or art appreciation. So, my question is, differentiate realism from neoclassicism and from romanticism, and choose two favorite paintings. Write the title and name of the artist. Okay, so that's the instruction. And then the student answers it. I'll read to you the answer. The realism, neoclassicism, and romanticism as the arts movement emerges, showcasing their technique, showcasing their unique way of presenting ideas, most especially to the aspects of arts. The three movements were varied to each other. Okay pa yun. Now, she continues with the next paragraph. Dating back in the year 1850, realism emanated. The term realism was used by Mercury Francais du Siclay, a French artist in 1826, described the truthful and accurate depiction of the models that nature and contemporary life offered the artist. Realism used to present the arts in the walks of life in an honest reality and its actual truths in everyday themes of life. Realist puts to showcase the ethics based on realistic situations rather than that of imaginations, glorification of the past, and exaggeration of emotions in order to capture visual perceptions without alteration, and a look at the poorer classes. For that, nagda-doubt na ako. Wow, grabe naman ang English niya. Hindi ko naman diniscuss ito during the classes. She continues, portrays on the struggles of working class and the inhuman labor as well as the isolation of society. With that, it's obvious this is from somewhere else. It does not come from her mind. Okay? So, it's clear, like, when questions are so simple and answers are so complicated, that is not a reliable answer anymore. I would say, walang truth na yan. Okay? I must also tell you some of the things that, well, students would do to magic it. Okay? For example, ito yung question. Looking into the artworks of Filipino artists, okay? Juan Luna, Felix Resurrección Hidalgo, do you see them to be at par with great artists of the world? Why? Okay? Are Filipino artists like Juan Luna and Hidalgo at par with Da Vinci or Michelangelo or Picasso or Manet or Vincent van Gogh? Okay, and then the answer, oo, karapat-dapat lang na mapabilang ang ating mga pintor sa pinakamagaling na mga pintor sa buong mundo dahil ang gawa nila ay magaganda at ang sining nila ay sumasalamin, nag-iingat at nagpapayaman sa pagkakakilanlang pangkultura at espiritual na pamana ang iba't ibang mga lipunan. Medyo doubtful na ako doon. Okay pa sana yung una lang. Bumubuo ng isang pandaigdig na anyo na pagpapahayag at komunikasyon at bilang isang pangkaraniwang denominator sa pagkakaiba-ibang etniko, kultura o relihiyoso na maiuwi sa bawat isang kahulugan. Kaya dapat na mapabilang sila, hindi lang naman ito para sa kanila lang, kundi para sa ating lahat na Pilipino. There. Okay? So, if these students join in the classes, they will know a simple answer, simply telling that, of course, looking into the works of Luna, like his Spolarium, it can be compared with the great works of Da Vinci, like the Supper. How? And then explain it simply there. Actually, I was instructing them answer only with 50 to 100 words. Okay? But then again, I tell you, if answers become so technical, teachers are given a hint that these answers are not from the students themselves. Okay? So we might as well see that the teacher's voice has been ignored by these students. Why? When I ask questions after a lesson is concluded, I instruct them with the way it should be answered. And if they answer it according to my instructions, simple way of answering it, appreciating things that have been discussed in an hour's lessons, then they will not go through all these technical and highly falutin words, highly falutin ideas, which will make me conclude, no, hindi ito galing sa estudyanteng ito. Okay? And I usually put a large X on that. And they have to do again their answer. Okay. Let's move. In seeking meaning from their experiences, the predominant theme of whatever is best for the students became evident. Okay? Whatever is best for the students becomes evident. And for me, in my arts appreciation, I really tell them, look into the artworks in order for you to know what are the works of these artists. For my music appreciation, I really tell them, listen to the compositions of these musicians. Okay? If I forwarded you Revolutionary Etude of Chopin and try to see if there is a revolution, is there a battle or a war inside that etude? Is a piano work by Chopin? But why did he title it Revolutionary Etude? There must be a good reason for such. And then that is one thing that I would want my students to really decipher. For example, if you discuss about impressionistic music by Claude Debussy, and then I play on Clair de Lune to them, that would really spell out the nuances of his music and what he wants to tell with Impressionism. In as much as this can also be related on the artworks during that time. Okay. This research says that there are 4 themes developed pertaining to the participants' experiences. Okay. The first theme is teacher mindset. Okay. Or if you read the questions, but answers do not adhere to its details, okay? But your English is so good, that's copy-paste. That's a teacher mindset. That's my mindset, okay? So, yeah, that's what I call teacher mindset. Next, teacher presence. When studies can be done asynchronous, it does not have to be synchronized. Like, okay, I have forwarded to you the links. Okay, depende na sa inyo what time you would want to view them. So it's asynchronous. We don't have to synchronize our time because links are provided. Okay, that's why it can be asynchronous, but it still checks the attendance. Okay, attendance during the conduct of online classes, screenshot in the beginning of the class, another screenshot in the middle of the class, and another screenshot on the end of the session, then there is a demand for teacher's presence. The teacher wants to be fully present in your class as much as he or she demands full presence on your part in your classes. The third, integration of technology into instruction. That is what we are doing. Okay, we are integrating technology, okay, TMC, in our instruction. And fourth, technology issues. When there is no signal in the mountains, and the coconut tree, to get connected is a problem. And I must tell you that my students usually use that reason why they were not able to attend classes. So, sir, hindi po ako nakapag-attend ng class kasi ang hina ng signal. Then, sasagot naman ako, kailan pa lumakas ang signal dyan? Okay. So, usually that's the reason. So, it's an issue. Okay. It's an issue. Okay, now let's move on to the third article which I have read through. It's entitled Online Classes Improving Communication with Students. It's from 𝐂𝐨𝐸𝐻. It says, effective communication with students in online classes should be a priority for instructors, as it not only contributes to retention, but also provides a sense of community that is important to the student. Okay, retention because students and teacher can both get back to links being shared, and they can also get back to instructions being sent. Okay, ano nga pala yung sabi ni sir? Kailan pala yung deadline? So you can get back to the instructions. Okay, and that makes it very convenient. Okay, that's for retention. Now, community, it provides a sense of community that is important to the student because the class becomes a close-knit virtual community connected to the online application employed. Okay? Facebook or yung group chat nyo, or the links provided when you have your Zoom or your Google Meet. So one can, because of that, for example, sa GC nyo sa Messenger, one can ask another's favor. Like, please, okay, for example, in my art appreciation GC, they text, please include me in our NSTP GC because I'm just newly enrolled. Okay? So they are actually asking favors from one another. And it also happens in other subjects. Okay. Now, moving on, it says, the goal of online communication is the same as that of face-to-face communication. Building links, sharing of information, and being heard and being understood. It's still about communication. So, just like in a classroom setting, there is this social life of students, how they relate to each other, share notes or answers, copy assignments, or do group work on projects that may be lost due to suspension of face-to-face classes due to the pandemic, and yet it will resiliently find a new form in online setting. Okay? It will find a new form in online setting. Even yung mga group works, it will find a new form in online setting. Maybe you can do a group work, group chat kayo dyan, okay? You're doing a project, you are not in one place, but in one GC, in one network. Okay. When and how an instructor communicates with students help foster a sense of community in online classes. Yes, how an instructor communicates. This helps students connected to the teacher and to their colleagues. For example, in my NSTP class, we help communicate the procurement of molasses and even with the fish needed for fish amino acid in our organic fertilizer concoctions. I must tell you that for my NSTP, okay, since we cannot do the usual NSTP work, we need to point that we will have our own gardens at home. So each student must have his own bahay kubo garden, okay? Yung bahay kubo, kahit munti, ang halaman doon ay sari-sari. So that's it. Now, the requirements, for example, for the Bahay Kubo project we have for NSTP is they must be able to plant 7 kinds of plants. Like one would be malunggay, and then we have this alugbati, okay, that's in Visaya, okay, and then we have galay or kamotitops, and then tanglad, okay, and then we call it siling bitok, or yung maliit na sili, and then atsal or sweet pepper, and then the third is optional, so you can have talong or ampalaya or okra. Yeah, I think those things, okay, they were required. But then to fertilize them, you have to have IMO2, fish amino acid, fermented plant juice. Okay, 3 concoctions. In order for us to buy fish at its cheapest, kasi there are times when there's a lot of fish in the market, so that they are selling it 10 pesos per kilo or 5 pesos per kilo. So they have to communicate. Classmates, ang isda ngayon sa palengke ay 10 pesos per kilo. I think this is the right time for us to grab our fish. Okay? Kasi itong 10 pesos na ito can go as high as 3 pesos per kilo. So it's nice if you buy it when it's cheap. So they use that group chat. Okay? And then for buying of molasses, kasi minsan nauubos yung stocks sa isang store sa molasses. So sabi na, ay, may molasses na, pwede ka nang pumunta doon, tapos pwede bumili. Ganon. So, the way the instructor, if he communicates with students on a way of parang, huy, bili na kayo ngayon, ganyan, it fosters a sense of community. A sense of community. It also depends with the subject that you deal with. For example, in NSTP, since it's more of community service, or at this point of time, serve your family, so it's very holy. Parang ganun yung style. Like, as an instructor, finding the best methods to communicate with your students should be your priority. Okay? What is the best way to communicate to your students? And that should be your number 1 priority. Minsan, for example, you deal with, for example, education students, those who are taking up education, they are more formal than those who are taking HRM. Okay, parang medyo barkada-barkada type yung HRM. And then, you cannot be so strict also with freshmen. yung kakapasok pa lang sa college nyo, tapos hindi pa nila alam yung style on how the school works. So, perhaps there is very little effort also in instruction kapag fourth year college na, kapag graduating na sila. So, the teacher has to find the most appropriate way of communicating to his or her students. Let's get back to our basic topic. And the topic that you gave me is the importance of communication in online. How do we develop good communication? Here are some basic guidelines to help us, teachers and students, achieve good results. First, let us remember that less is more. Try to use as few words as possible. Online students are bombarded with information that consists mostly of text. So the last thing they want is to read yet another long message. Okay, I'll give you an example of how bad it is to be knotless. Okay, when you are knotless, how bad it is. Okay, of course I'm exaggerating, but it can be this bad. Attention to all NSTP 11 students for academic year 2021-2022 first semester. Of course, you know it's NSTP 11 kasi there is no NSTP 12 yet because that's second semester. And why must you say first semester when it's obvious it's first semester? Okay. So you'd say, this announcement is regarding your passing of your 2-minute vlog on the making of fish amino acid FAA, which is long, may long overdue pa siya. I can't understand why it takes too long for you to document this fermentation process when this can be completed in 10 days. Oh, my ranting na. 2 months have already passed and only 3 among the 35 students have submitted. Okay, isn't it frustrating? And yet, you don't have to say 3 kasi alam naman nila yan. Kasi sa group chat, sinasubmit yung mga vlog. And for this reason, I am setting the deadline on September 30, 2021, not later than 8 p.m. I will not be accepting those who submit late. Of course, yun yung deadline. And then, mark your calendars. I am very firm on this. Okay. So I'm saying that's not less. Okay. How can you lessen that? Okay. Let's look into this. Attention, NSTP 11 students. Subject. Deadline of passing a 2-minute vlog on FAA making. Date. Okay, ito yung date. September 30, 2021. NB. Okay, nota bene. Okay, note well. Okay, note well. All vlogs must be submitted in Messengers and STP group chat not later than 8 p.m. on said date. Yung note mo, yung NB mo dyan, already tells that you are serious. You are telling them that it should not be 8 p.m. So, it's less. It's easily understood. Okay? And then it's very easy to get back to it without reading the whole text in order to understand. Pupunta ka lang sa date. Yan. Yung nota bene 8 p.m. There. It's all set. Okay, so is that better communication? I think it is. Let's move on. Yung next, yung number 2 is be clear. Okay, be clear. Your message should be concise and clear, leaving no room for varying interpretations. If you want your students to know that the deadline for a test has been extended, for example, your message should speak only about that. Okay? It should only be about that extension. This one. Announcement. Deadline for taking the examinations in art appreciation is extended until September 30, 2021 at 8 p.m. So that means it might be done at 9 p.m. kasi taking siya. The deadline for taking the examinations art appreciation is extended until September 30, 2021 at 8 p.m. Okay? So be a little considerate. Okay? If they might understand it na 8 p.m. at say start, so they might end it at 9 or 9:30, then be considerate with that. Okay? They might understand it that they will start at 8 p.m. But anyhow, yeah, that's the instruction and that's clear. Now, let's look into what is not clear. Okay, like this one. Announcement. Deadline for taking the examinations in art appreciation is extended until September 30, 2021 at 8 p.m. But for those who have not paid their tuition fees and are not permitted to take the exams, I will set another or second deadline with you. But if you can secure a promissory note and once approved by the finance officer, you can take the exams before the first deadline and not on the second deadline, which I have yet to schedule. Okay? So, if you can get a promissory note and the finance officer permits you to take the exams even if you have not paid your account, then you should take on the scheduled deadline. And what if the student, even if he has submitted a promissory note, hindi siya nakapag-aral, and then she would say, doon na lang ako sa second deadline para I can still ask my classmates, ano ba yung mga lumabas? Ano ba yung topic? Ano ba yung question? Then she can have a better score. Okay? So, be clear. Now, let's move on. Yung third niya, sabi niya, be polite. Okay? Reread your text to make sure it sounds the way you want it to sound. Check the tone of the communication and check for clarity and completeness in the text. Dapat hindi sarcastic yung text. Okay? So, politeness. Kasi if you are polite in your text, for example, dear students, good morning. I wish to inform you that parang ganun ba? Hindi yung, hoy kayo dyan. Okay? Mga estudyanteng dangag. Okay, ganyan. I don't know what's dangag in Tagalog. We deserve respect, okay? Teachers deserve respect and students also deserve respect. Okay? You want your messages to be professional and enjoyable, and for students that you receive their questions well. Okay? Questions from students not intimidate the teachers. Okay, I will share to you some of my students' projects with these instructions. Okay, for example, like the instructions is create a 1-minute vlog on how you made your FAA. Okay, a 1-minute vlog on how you made your FAA, and then there are also vlogs in their FPJ. Okay, hindi yan FPJ Provinciano, but fermented plant juice. And I also asked them a vlog for their IMO2. That's indigenous microorganisms too. Okay, yung ginagamit yung rice na may mga bulak, okay, may molds na rice. Okay, with molasses. Okay, so I will share the videos, their vlogs that they have made, okay, that have been sent in our GC, okay, for last semester. These are their projects.
Hello everyone! So karon ang atong buhaton is magamaataog organic fertilizer, which is the plant or the FPG organic fertilizer. So unsa pa imong giulat? Lantaw na!
Hello everyone! Karon ang atong buhaton is magamata og fertilizer. Our first fertilizer is fish amino acid. Let's go!
Hello guys! Welcome sa akong video. So pagkakarong video is magamatag first fertilizer IMO2.
The fourth, which we will discuss, is about provide feedback. Okay? Provide feedback. As your students are learning from a distance, it is important that they receive consistent feedback on their progress in online classes. If a student asks a question, kapag may tinatanong siya about a task, it is tempting that you first offer a personal answer to that question. For example, PM ka, PM mo rin sa kanya. And then, if you feel the question is important to the rest of the class, introduce it in your group chat. Okay? So he has communicated questions to you about the details, for example, in making these things. Okay? So may project sila, and then feel mo na, I think the group has to know this. And so, you announce it sa group chat. And if you do that, if there's consistent feedbacking, so there's a healthy relationship between you and your students, and you can create a lot of things. Okay? A lot of things that will please you, and it will also please your students. I would like to share to you some of the videos, or should I say pictures, of the projects of my colleague. Okay, his name is Miguel Salvania, and he teaches contemporary arts from the regions and humanities. Actually, he's a speech and theater major from Silliman University, and these are the projects in his class, which I really appreciate. The fifth that we are going to discuss is about asking opinions. Okay? Ask for opinions. Ask your students what they think adds another personal touch to your communication, which helps them to create a bond. You know, people like to give their personal opinion. It makes them feel important and part of something. At the same time, this is of great value to help improve the content of your course in the future. Okay, feedbacking, asking of opinions, these are already transcending lines, no, of communication. It can be repeated. Okay. It can be repeated. It's a cycle. And the more there is more into communication, the more they are asking of questions and answering, and more asking and answering, the more the teacher gets what he wants to get from the students in terms of their growth in learning. In the same way, the students will also understand what the teachers want to achieve through them. So that lines of communication are so open, and because of this openness, a better understanding and a better relationship will continue to prosper between students and teachers. I would like to recap my talk to you this afternoon. We started with the importance of online communication in higher education. We talked about the importance of this online communication, the platforms, the gadgets that we are using, the technology that we are using. It is indeed very important, especially on this time of pandemic. We need it very, very badly. In fact, 10 or 15 years ago, when Star Wars was so much a hit, I said to myself, maybe in the near future, when I will be so rich and so famous and so popular, and I will be needed in 3 places at a time, I will just form a hologram and then be able to convey the message I would want to spread to the world, and be able to multiply myself, okay, like saints centuries ago, when they can bilocate, they can be in 2 places at the same time. It has come to a reality. Okay, I'm not saying that I am appearing in 3 places right now, but I am appearing to you right now through this in a webinar, which I don't think would be possible without technology. So I have to talk about technology first, how important technology is in these contemporary times, on these pandemic times. And then I moved into in online learning. How important is this communication in online learning? Because it is not enough that technology be used. It has to be used well. It has to be used according to our humanity. I say according to our humanity, because technology is so cold, is so lifeless, and as human beings, we have to put the heart into these technologies. And then we moved on into improving communication with students. It is not enough to have communication in online learning and looking into how important it is, but we have to improve communication so that as we continue to communicate, we create a closer bond among individuals, and we become more integrated as persons. Technology should integrate humanity, and this is done through communication. And with this, I end my webinar with you. Thank you very much, and I hope I was able to share things you have expected me to share. Thank you very much once again. Have a nice day. FEU.
Ayan. Thank you, Mr. Perez, for the well-prepared presentation. Talagang sinama pa po ninyo yung mga experience nyo during face-to-face and online classes. And syempre, advance Happy Teachers Day na rin po. Thank you for sharing the things that we expected you to share. And Carlos, I love how very informative our speakers are today.
Yes, partner. Same with me, Tanya. Magkaiba sila actually ng mga topics, pero parang very interesting, di ba?
Yes, I agree with that, Carlos. And the video is quite long, but it's very informative. And with that, I love how Mr. Perez gives us examples so we can fully understand the topic. But the topic that struck me the most is yung guidelines ba to have good results in communicating online. And I think we both agree to this, Kaloy, right?
Yes. Actually, I've developed some sort of learnings myself. Like for instance, I have developed a better understanding actually of the importance of communication between the student and the teacher. Along with understanding comes appreciation. So it's safe to say that I've also I take it into my heart that how important communication is into the educational system, and how the slightest form of miscommunication can easily create a big negative impact in one's education. Second insight that I've learned from Mr. Perez's speeches, like what he mentioned earlier, is to make sure that you have to be frank with you want to what you want to say. The message that you want to convey should be direct and or straightforward, because you can't sugarcoat your way into a topic, because it would be very unnecessary, and in today's society professionalism must be practiced. So whenever I've learned from one of my English classes that when you're writing an article or when you're writing anything, and even not just an essay, you have to be direct to the point with what you have to say, so that the readers would develop a better understanding of what you're trying to write or create. And the other thing that I've learned from Mr. Perez's talk was the importance of providing feedback to what a student and teacher may have to say that would most likely benefit the project in terms of detecting problems and creating opportunities for improvement for that certain project. What about you, Tanya?
I just want to add, no, Mr. Perez also said that yung less is more. Yung it's better to say things forwardly than having extra words. Because sometimes kasi the audience might get bored. And second, there's a tendency that we get lost on the main topic. Yung sinasabi nilang maraming bulaklaking words.
Yes.
Something like that. So yeah, I think the topic is very clear also, and Mr. Perez also gave us a lot of examples, right, Kaloy?
That's right. And you know what, Tanya? Besides from being a professor, you may not know, but Mr. Perez also helps indigenous tribes.
Wow, that's actually very inspiring to hear. Sorry, Sir Perez, but we are just very curious about it. Can you tell us more about that? Then let's go back again to the topic after. Oh, and
Sure.
by the way, we got this source from Mr. 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐬𝐿 po, if you know him.
Yes, yeah, very much. They came here. Actually, they came here and stayed with the Ata, the indigenous people, for more than a month. Yeah, for our research. It was actually culminative activity for research, and so they stayed in Bais and literally lived with the Ata. They stayed in the houses of the Ata to do research. Would you want me to talk about it now?
Yes po, we're very
Okay.
curious about it.
Yeah, thank you. Before I talk about it, I would like to correct the introduction. Maybe it was not an updated curriculum vitae that I sent to you. Right now, I am not city administrator of our city, okay?
Oh, I
But
see.
I am running for office. I am running for city councilor, okay?
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
for correcting me.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And then now to the question about the ATA. Actually, my PhD in UP Diliman is on ethnomusicology. So that's ethnic music. And my subject of study is the indigenous people of Negros Oriental, specifically in our city, in Bai City, and the neighboring town, which is Mabinay. And that is the Ata, or the Negretos. And then that's when I have to study their songs, their dances, their economic life, situations in the family, and topography, all that. I think Kyle Liban was assigned with topography and the area where the Ata lived. And he presented a research on that in our symposium. The rest, I think there were 8 of them, 8 of the students in Sisters of Mount Carmel Catholic School in Fairview. Kapitbahay nyo lang. I would pass through FEU Diliman when I'd go to SMCCS on my way to UP. And then I think much of our students in SMCCS are with FEU. So we're happy about that. Anyhow, so they have to stay with me in Ba'i City for over a month's time. 3 nights of the week, they would stay in the mountains. They would sleep on the floor of the houses of the Ata. Excuse me. And each one is assigned one spirit world of the Ata, the other one dances of the Ata. Janina Catral was assigned with beetle chewing. They call it mama or tilad. So yeah, these students actually told me on our last evaluation, you know, sir, the best thing that ever happened in our academic ladder is coming to Ba'i City, to be so much away from home and to live with these people. Sabi nila, talbog yung mga field trip namin, yung mga, pati daw yung mga, kahit daw yung mga retreats nila, kasi 3 days lang yan. Minsan the most would be 5 days. Ito kasi 1 month. So sabi nila, the experience is purgation of the soul. Okay, so I was very happy about that. They were able to see how blessed they are and how important the family is. So yun, so 3 days of the week would be spent with the Ata. The next 2 days would be coming home to Ba'i City, where they will write their field work. And weekends, 2 days, that's when we go to places like we would do dolphin and whale watching, and then we'd go to a spring in Mabinay, and we'd go somewhere in Dumaguete. So it's Lagaw or Salaag in Binisaya, or what's that in Tagalog? Yung pupunta ka sa isang lugar. I have very little Tagalog, you know. Ano ba yan? Yung when you go gallivanting, when you go gala, that's it. Thank you. Gala. So I know these kids will never forget their experience in Ba'i City. Okay, it's actually city of whales and dolphins. So wala pong tao sa city namin, dolphins tsaka whales lang po. No, it was a joke. I hope I have a laugh machine here. So next time, if you invite me for a talk, I'll come up with gadgets, yung may laugh machine, yung may smash, ganyan, para mas interesting. I think I'll do that kasi ginagawa namin yan sa radio station. Ano ba yan? It makes me happy, nakakatawa, nakakalibang. Yun. Iba
Sir,
kasi yung
correct.
nakakalibang sa Bisaya. Okay. Go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you still do that kind of activity even after the research?
Even after the research, yung pumupunta sa mga Ata?
Yes, po.
Yes. Even until now. Yeah, I have finished my dissertation already for UP. I think it's over 300 pages. And I think I have recorded 80% of their songs and have recorded also most of their dances. But for me, I think there is no such thing as the end of the research. Until now, I still go there almost every week. In fact, after my research, I taught them PESDA organic farming. So that's when I
I thought about translating TESDA organic farming into NSTP. Kasi sabi ko, how can we do volunteer jobs to public schools? Kasi yung ginagawa ng NSTP. Ngayon. So, let's have a garden in our homes and then teach them organic concoctions so they will know how to take care of their plants. So, yun. Yeah. With the ATA, until now, I still go and still maybe not record songs, but follow up every garden that they have. Kasi sabi ko, after you will take assessment for TESDA, tapos you'll have your national certificate, my plan is, kasi there are still 4 new programs that the provincial director opened. 2 more programs for more ATA, another program in Tanggohob, Mabinay, also an area of ATA, and another in Manganay, also an area for ATA. So 4 programs. Gusto ko, yung first batch ko will be my co-instructors. So in the morning, I'll talk about theories. In the afternoon, they will follow it up with yung workshop, yung gagawa ng concoction. Tapos sila na yung magpa-facilitate in making the portfolio of all the concoctions. Kasi ginagawa ko yung portfolio parang benchmark. Kahit hindi nire-require ng TESDA for portfolio, I make it very academic, very scholarly for them. So, na-try nun, did you try your FAA with sa malunggay, sa galay, sa sweet pepper? So, ganyan. And then, gagawa sila ng chart. Tapos, underneath the chart, yung narrative, whether it is successful or not. So, ganun yung portfolio. So, kada concoction, isang bond paper of portfolio. So, it becomes very academic. And then the ATA is parang, wow, grabe naman, challenging pala, ganito pala ito. So, because of that portfolio, na-master nila yung topics. And that's when I proposed to the provincial director that I want them to be partners. Tapos, hati kami sa honorarium. So, they will have a high premium in knowledge. Yung they will really think na kaya pala ng isang indigenous na tao, kahit grade 4 lang siya, kahit grade 3 lang siya, to be a lecturer and to receive 500 for a day's work. Malaki na yung pera sa kanila kasi minsan when they work in the fields, 200 to 300 lang yung kinikita nila. Tapos ang init pa niyan, magkakarga ka ng sugarcane. So it's very menial. But then this time you will be hiring them as teachers, as instructors. Tapos bang kasama pa nila si Jeremias, parang ganyan. So they have a high premium. They will be esteemed with that. So it's nice. Alam nila Kyle Liban yan, sila Antonio Lopez, sila Gutierrez. I hope they are with FEU, sila Dylan Gregorio, sila Juribel Patoy, Janina Catral. Pumunta yan sa dito, si William Ang, yun. Pumunta yan dito, si Precious pa. Maybe they're in FEU. So yun, they know that kaya ng ATA. Very lowly. Pero kapag natuturuan naman, especially with farming, kasi that's their livelihood. So they can make it.
So, is that a free training po, sir? Or are you getting paid with that?
It's a TESDA training. Actually, yung ATA mismo na tin-train ko for the whole duration, they have they have allowance for Wi-Fi. They have allowance for Wi-Fi. That's 1,000 pesos. And then they have allowance for the whole duration. I think it's 4,300. So actually, they're happy about it. Natatawa pa nga yung isa sa mga elders nila, sabi niya, wow, pinagpaaral pa tayo, babayaran pa tayo. Yeah. On my part also, I have an honorarium from TESDA. And so I told the provincial director, I am willing to part, hating kapatid with the ATA where I will be teaching with. So hati kami. If TESDA gives me 1,000 for that day, so 500 siya, 500 ako. Ganyan. Okay. Oo, para happy lahat.
Yes po. And do you accept volunteers po outside your school?
Yes,
Para,
we'd be really interested.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. If you're interested to come, I will be very, very happy to host you. I'll be very, very happy to have you. So when you go to the ATA, like on these days, I can also recommend to you the itinerary. And then when you're in Bae City, you can stay at home the same way as my students did. Right now, I'm in my study room. It's big enough to house, ilan ba sila Kyle dito? I think they were 5 or 6, but we can still house more. Yeah. Also, my sister has Casa Margarita. So it's like a pension house. It has 6 rooms. Anyhow, yeah, we can accommodate you in the list of expense. Yeah, we will be very honored, and I think it's exciting. Yeah, our city will be very happy for that. Pray that I will win city councilor, and yeah, FEU and Bae City can go a long way. Partnership tayo.
That sounds
That's
great,
great,
sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, sir, in my previous school, which is the School of the Holy Spirit of Quezon City, we were conducting one like that also. There's this club that goes up to mountains to experience that kind of parang living then.
Yes.
They will sleep there, no social media, no internet or something, and they will teach the indigenous people also. But I haven't tried it because I was too busy being an athlete during that time.
Okay. Hopefully, when the pandemic is done, and then you will not have to swab in order to come, no RT-PCR, whatever, you are most welcome to make it to base. Alam ko sila Kaya, sila Antonio are dying to come back. Yeah, it's so good an experience. I know it's a hell and heaven experience. There was one time we went to Camp Ginoo. We have to walk 4 hours. 4 hours. We started 8. We arrived at 12. Only to eat our lunch and then marvel at the cave inside a mountain which we cannot even get near kasi may mga ahas, or we might be charmed. Okay, so yun, kasi there are a lot of spirits there, so you might be hexed, you know that. So you cannot get near to the mouth of the cave because there are a lot of stories on the cave. So eat lunch and then enjoy chit chat for an hour, because at 1 o'clock you have to start walking again. Otherwise, magdidilim. If you stay 2 hours, you'll be walking at 6 p.m. You will not see your way na. So yun, our feet are too tired. A lot of them had slid through mountains, a lot of slopes, a lot of cliffs. Nakakatakot. Parang, Dylan was, I think, over 90 kilograms, if I'm not wrong. Sorry, Dylan. My God, I think he lost 10 kilograms when he came to Bae City. So it's a good experience, and then funny and yet very unforgettable.
Okay, so now after sharing everything, we will be moving on to the question and answer portion. Please do comment your questions and curiosities regarding Mr. Perez's talk, and then we will go over and we will try to answer them all.
Yes, guys, please do not be shy to ask Sir Perez what questions you have inside your heads. So we'd really appreciate it if you express yourselves down on the comment section.
Yeah, there's one question. What would you say to students who are hesitant to communicate in online classes? Just one word. You are not sent to school to be more shy.
Well, that's
okay?
true.
You are not sent to school to be more bashful. You are sent to school. You are already in the tertiary level, probably the last level, if you don't want to get a master's degree or a doctorate degree. Sa Binisaya na wala ka pa eskwelaha para magpaulaw-ulaw. You go to school in order for you to communicate even more even more. So sometimes I'd ask, oh, what is your name? And then the person would not answer me the name immediately. Tapos sasabihin ko talaga, shh, nag-aral ka ba? So, bakit naman siya? Bakit napaka mahiyain mo? Hanggang anong level? Nag-college po ako sir, graduate ka pala? Napaka mahiyain mo? Were you sent to be mahiyain? No. The thing is, the more educated the person, the more communicative. Okay? Erase yung thought na kapag silent siya, deep siya, no? Silent yan kasi walang laman ang isip niyan. Takot yan magsalita kasi malalaman na wala sulod di ay. Sa Bisaya pa, walay sulod, walang laman yung isip. Kaya ka takot magsasalita dahil walang laman ang isip mo. That's a challenge. Okay? So you have to disprove that. Wrong si Sir Perez. Marami ang laman sa isip ko. Yeah, that's why speak up. Ganon.
Wow, what an answer, sir.
Very true.
Okay, down to our second question from Ms. Runame. What struggles did you face in teaching music during the online setup? If you conduct online classes for music.
Teaching music. By the way, I am also teaching music, like teaching voice online. I have not tried piano yet. There are requests that I'll teach piano, but I have second thoughts on that. But I'll try. Anyhow, teaching music, for example, in voice, it's actually very challenging because sometimes you cannot see the person take a breathe already. And I'm very particular with breathing because it's McCloskey type of technique in voice, which is very effective. Now, tones cannot also be very clear compared to face-to-face kasi minsan depende kasi sa gadget. Kapag cellphone, a little limited siya. So, tapos kapag mahina yung signal talaga is a problem. Kapag mahina yung signal, nagsa-stammer yung material. So, wala. Kakatayin ko talaga si Jeremy Kapunan. Sample daw, Phantom of the Opera. Next question, please.
Eloy, can you read the question of Mr. Luigi Alba?
Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty. Okay, a little question from Mr. Luigi Alba. Hold on one second. Let me find it here.
Do you need help?
Hold on. Sorry, I'm
okay,
trying.
I'll be the one to read it. No worries. Okay, sir, how can you handle the behaviors of people that surround you po in times you need communication that is affected by their background, especially this pandemic, where we are isolated?
What do you mean? Will you qualify that question? Ano ibig sabihin niya with that? How do I handle people na, ano ba yun?
How can you handle the behaviors of people that surround you po in times of you need communication?
For example, your classes, okay? I really tell them, I want cameras on. Okay. Mute siya, pero I want to see your faces. Kasi I will never know if you are doing that. Okay. Hindi yan pwede sa akin. I'm a little strict with that. So I really want to see faces. That's why my signal yan, for example, I have a secretary sa classes ko. So for example, si Rene I'll chat him, take a picture na ngayon. So, and then he'll take a picture sa klase namin. And then while discussing, in the middle of the class, I say, Rene, take a picture again. Ganyan. Kasi, if he takes a picture, tapos wala yung mukha mo dyan, -2 points yan. Ganyan siya. Kapag wala ka, absent ka dyan, -5 points siya. Tapos pag andyan ka naman for the last, +5 points ka na naman. So, that's how I discipline them. Kasi yung estudyante, kapag hindi mo dinidisiplina sa online class, ay, mag-aabuso talaga yan. Andyan siya, mute pa yan, video off pa yan, hindi mo alam kung nakikinig ba. When you get the assessments, ayan, copy-paste ang Google. Kasi, hindi pala nakikinig. So, in order to eradicate that problem, kasi it takes time. When you check, binabasa mo yan, from the first word up to the last word before you decide. This is copy-paste. Before you write, you put an X mark. So it's wasting your time. Kasi ibabalik mo yan sa kanya, tapos uulitin niya yan. Uulitin niya yan. So kapag lahat ng estudyante, ginugugol nila lahat, you have 100 students. So that means you read through 100 answers, consume 3 hours in reading all this essay, only to find out that nothing is good for the grading. Ibabalik mo, uulitin nila. So another 3 hours kang mag-check sa rectified answers. Ganun.
All right. Thank you, sir, for your answer. We have another question from Miss Beata Lee. In your opinion, what is the best way to communicate with your students during this online setup?
The best way? Okay. The best as in the best. Okay. Our school has this 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐻𝐸. Okay, 𝐂𝐨𝐻𝐸. And then, well, that's for high school and elementary. That's for basic education. For college, we are given the option whether to use Zoom or to use Google. But to me, the most usable, the most important, the most salient, and the easiest way to communicate is through Messenger. All the links are forwarded. For example, in my art appreciation classes, so lahat na yan, fino-forward ko na. These are the links. View them tonight before our classes tomorrow. So you can interact with me. For example, branded board concerto. Tan, 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 ta, da, 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 da. What did you understand about the song? Tapos gaganyan siya. I understand calmness in the circle. Wag mo ko. Calmness, hindi mo nga naintindihan anong ibig sabihin. Tan, 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 ta, da, 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 da. Why? Why will you calm? Kasi art appreciation. Are you really sure? Napapakalma ka ng music na yon? Bakit siya? Bakit sir? Because it is supposed to agitate you. Siya, ganun ba? Yeah. So I have to explain to them what are calming music and what is agitating music. Tapos sabi niya, agitating pala yun, sir. No, actually, no, hindi ka agitating. Ganito lang. Ganyan. Okay? Kaya minsan, pag sinasabi mo, agitating, and then everyone will say, yes, agitating. Tapos sasabihin mo, second emotion lang kayo sa akin. Because you have to teach students how to appreciate. How to say that's good and that's bad. Okay? Kasi art is art, but because the authorities say so. Okay? The simple people has to find beauty in that art. Kaya we have subjects in art appreciation. And then the teacher teaches students how to be keen. Sige, may Kandinsky ka. Eto, parang Kandinsky din, pero hindi Kandinsky. Grade 5 lang pala yung nag-drawing yan. Okay? So, minsan kasi, you put an artistic work in front and then they say, oh, that's so sublime. Sublime mong mukha mo, hindi mo nga naintindihan kung ano yan. Okay? So, you have to tell them, yeah, before you use the word sublime, why do you call it deep? Why do you call it noble? Okay? So, that's when you have to attend to my classes. Okay? Kasi brush strokes, color usage, for example, how particular are you with color mixing? And then you discuss about fauvism. Does that adhere to color? Yung leaves ng tree should not be green. You can color it purple, you can color it white, you can color it blue, but never green. Kasi totoo yung green. Because it should not be truthful. Parang ganun. Fauvism, the beast. So anything what is conventional, umaalis sila sa conventional. Kapag trunk, brown yung trunk, gagawing puti yung trunk. Saan ka ba nakakita ng tree na puti yung trunk? But that's Fauvism. So you have to tell them to understand the style. Kaya, if they don't attend classes, ginugugol lang, hindi rin naman naintindihan yung English ng Google. Mistiso daw yung puno. Hindi naman naiintindihan yung English na Google, tapos kinokopya, tapos Google Translate. Tagalog, naging Tagalog na yung Google. Tapos sabi ko, wow, grabe naman siya magka-Tagalog. Tapos sinabihan ko, sir, may Google Translate kasi. Eko, yun pala, maoday. Shush, ikuhaan ko panguto. And there's also Google Translate for Bisaya. Because my instruction is, you can answer in English, Tagalog, or Bisaya, or you can mix all these three languages. For as long as it should come from you, your own appreciation. Tapos, may Google Translate na Bisaya, yung Binisaya, napakalalim ng mga Binisaya. Wala nako damha nga ang kinakibukan o kinaurukan. Bakit? Alam ba ng batang itong mga words na to? Kagaya nung Tagalog na binasa ko kanina. It's so deep. So, alam ko, Google Translate yon. So, ganyan. And then, I really run on the messenger. Okay. Whose paper is this? So, pinofoto ko and then pinopost ko. Tell me, is this Google or not? Tapos, nababasa nila yan. Google nga sir. Okay, do this again and I will not let you repeat your answer. I'll mark it 0 immediately. No more rectification of answer. So, they have to adhere na to the rules. So alam mo, they are listening to you. Okay. Next question.
Sir, as much as we want to entertain more questions, we are now running out of time. I know a lot of people want to ask you questions, but they can message you through your social media accounts, right, sir?
Sure.
Okay.
Even if you have questions, for example, Kyle or Jeremy was texting me if, sir, how do you conduct classes in music, in voice, like that, in choir? Can it be conducted online? I say yes. Okay, it can be conducted online, and I can also say no, it cannot be conducted online. So there's a yes and a no answer for that. But if you need help, yeah, you can message me, Jeremias Navarro Perez, and I can help you with that. Even if you have questions in vocal, like you want your singing to be corrected, I can give you 2 sessions for that. Yeah, for free. Okay.
Wow, that's good, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so now we thank you so much, Sir Perez, for all the things you shared with us today.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, Tanya. And Carlos, thank you also. You're so good. Ang galing nyo.
Wow. Thank you, sir.
I would like to congratulate your organization. I think I will suggest this to our student organizations to do the same kasi it's nice. And it's student led. Kayo yung student organized. So
yes,
it's nice. Yeah.
We're setting the energy level, sir, because it's our first webinar for this school year.
First.
Yes po.
Wow.
It's actually my first webinar po, sir, to host as a student.
Wow. You're doing well. You're doing good.
Thank you.
Kyle actually is president sa SMCCS namin. Used to be our president of SG. Yeah. So I am commending you. Ang galing nyo, ha? Ang galing nyo. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And I'm happy for my students to remember me for Kyle nga. Sir, ganyan, ay, natatandaan mo pa pala yung terroristic na teacher mo. So, yeah, it's nice. Now I miss Fairview. I miss Diliman. Yeah. I miss Manila. Okay.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you talaga, sir. We're actually honored to, sir, that you are here. Again, we thank you for giving us your time today and sharing your experiences during online setup. In return, we would like to present to you an e-certificate as a token of our appreciation. So let me do the honors to read the citation for you. This certificate of appreciation is given to you, Mr. Jeremias and Perez, in tribute for his willingness to share his wisdom and expertise as a speaker in the webinar entitled Importance of Communication in Online Classes, given this 29th day of September 2021 via Zoom, signed by Ms. Janina Villarreal, President of Operations Management Students Association, Mr. Jose Barcela Jr., the advisor of OMSA, Ms. Runa Rodriguez, and Ms. Carl Parinas, the project heads of this event.
Ayan. Thank you, Mr. Perez, and we hope to see you again at our future events in OMSA. So guys, let us all give a positive reaction to Mr. Perez by dropping down your best chosen emojis. There you go. Go, keep it coming, girl.
Go.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess that's it. We have now reached the end of our webinar. It was a long talk from our special guests, Ms. Rombaoa and Mr. Perez. And I hope everyone learned about the importance of communication. Right, Kaloy?
Yes, partner. I hope so too, Tanya.
And guys, don't forget in the chat box the things you have learned today or anything you want to Ms. Rombaoa and Sir Perez.
You know, partner, I think we've all learned something today, and I hope that we be able to apply these amongst ourselves and our peers. But before anything else, let's do a celebratory photo shoot. Cameras.
Tanya, may I also thank Mark Angelo Ungon for preparing these things for me. He's my admin. Yeah, Mark Angelo Ungon and Sir Miggy Salvandia for the materials. Thank you very much.
Anything else to advertise, sir? It's your time now.
Vote for me on the elections.
Yun.
Yeah, I would like to thank the Oriental Music Society for the support and the student government of La Consolacion College. Thank you very much. And faculty and administration of LCC, especially to Sir Miggy for sharing the materials. Sir Miggy has a lot of materials. You should invite me again so I can share to you his materials.
No problem, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, are you guys ready for the photo op? Okay, so we have 5 pages here. So the first one, are you ready to smile? 1, 2, 3, smile. Click. Then the second page, 1, 2, 3, smile. Yes, I love the background music. On the third page, 1, 2, 3, smile. And down to our second to the last page. 1, 2, 3, smile. And our last one. 1, 2, 3, smile. There you have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Sir Perez. Stay safe.
Yes.
God bless you all.
Sir, I miss you, sir.
Hey,
Miss
greet
you
your
too.
teacher. Happy Teacher's Day.
Yeah. Happy Teacher's Day to all of us.
Teachers Day, everyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
happy Teacher's Day.
Okay, guys, don't forget to comment in the chat box what you have learned today, okay? And we will read that later. Okay, before we end our program, we are requesting everyone. Oh, no, that's not it. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much to our participants and guests for opening their cameras. Special shout out also to the people behind this event. Of course, our project heads, Ms. Carl Parinas, OMSA's auditor, and Ms. Runa Rodriguez, OMSA's secretary. The events communications in charge, Ms. Kate Tyrona, Programs Committee Head, and Ms. Beata Lee, the Vice President for Internal Affairs.
Our technical team, namely Mr. Justin Cartojano, the Vice President for External Affairs, together with the Multimedia Committee members, Ms. Jairis D. and Ms. Mariel Evangelista. Our graphic artist, Mr. Luigi Alba.
And also, let's give credit to our programs in charge, OMSA's President, Ms. Jamina Villarreal, and to our advisor, Mr. Jose Barcela Jr. And now, to officially end the program, let us hear a few words from one of the most talented student leaders in FE Diliman, Ms. Jamina Villarreal, the President of OMSA.
Okay, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Jasmine Villarreal, the President of Operations Management Students Association. So on behalf of OMSA, I would like to thank our guest speakers, Ms. Rombaoa and Mr. Perez, for sharing your knowledge through those enlightening presentations and for your willingness to help the students and faculty with their difficulty when communicating with other people online. So I just want to say that we are definitely really grateful for that. Thank you also to the professors who helped us invite other faculty and students to join this webinar. I'm sure that this was of help to all of you, especially in this online setup of classes. Thank you to my OMSA family, especially to the organizers and our advisor, Sir Barcela, for all the efforts that we put into this event just to make this successful. And of course, to be of service to our fellow students. And lastly, of course, thank you to everyone who took the time today to attend this day's webinar. I hope that you learned a lot about communication from our speakers. So don't forget to fill out the evaluation form that we'll be sending here later at the end of the event. And with that, I look forward to seeing you all in our next events. Again, thank you so much and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jem, for that closing message. So Tanya, what we have to anything else to say today before we end the program?
I think that's for today, Kaloy, since we're running out of time. Please don't forget to fill out the evaluation form that will be shown on your screens right now. There you have it, as this will serve as your attendance for today.
And you know, the evaluation link will also be sent through our chat box by one of our officers. Once again, and I'm Carlos Oxon, Community Head for Academics. Have a nice day.
And I'm Tanya Rivera, the Treasurer of OMSA.
Thank you for being with us today, and we hope to see you at your upcoming events. Stay safe, everyone.
This has been the Operations Management Students Association. Feel limitless, be limitless.
Bye-bye. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys. Don't forget to fill up the form. Congrats to everyone.
All right. Everybody did great today. We appreciate your attendance. And yeah, please do not forget to fill out the evaluation forms at the comment section